Okay, once you have your top part done, then you are ready to finally put your background image in. Now, it's important for you to think about the original background, which is relatively light, right? We're starting with a relatively light background on most of these. Now, this one here, you could be pretty busy because it looks like, you're going to be putting several things on here that you could easily work around. But this one is a little more basic over here, and there's going to be images and some stuff. So you don't want, you want your person or whatever this is going to be something that can fit okay here in the middle that you'll be able to kind of work around. And again, I'm okay with you changing the size of things or moving them a little bit, right? But we generally want to use the setup. So just keep that in mind as you get ready to put this part in. Now, my person, I think my head's going to be a lot bigger than this guy's head. So I'm definitely going to have to make some adjustments. And then also, we're going to want to use some actual adjustment layers because this is going to be one of those that's going to look potentially a little dark. So like mine's a little too dark, right? Well, it just needs more contrast really. So I'm going to have a piece of my hair in front or a piece of my head in front of the word teacher, which you do want to have. These examples all have something pulled off their background. But you still want the background behind everything. So let me first go ahead and select. I'm going to come to my select quick selection and then select subject up here. So make sure you click on your layer. See if it'll do a good job for you. It may do just fine. And if it does, great. Then, yours will be easy to deal with. If you got hair issues, here's where you're going to have to do a little bit of work. So let's get in here and see. It didn't do too bad of a job on my hair. I mean, there's pieces there, but we're still going to have the original background. So the part that's most important is the part that's up here. So do I have some little hair strands here? And I do. And I think they look fine. Now, there is that when you hit your refine hair button or your refine edge button, you can hit refine hair. If you click it, then it tries to do a little bit of a better job. I don't know that that really did better or not. There's also over here radius. You can pull on radius a little bit, and sometimes that helps. Now, honestly, some of these parts look really bad. So I'm going to undo because I don't like the way that turned out. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of go there. Now, remember, this is all going to be on a layer mask. Or, of course, you've got your buttons over here. So if you need to get rid of something, like there's just a weird blobby thing going on over here, I'm going to get rid of it. Okay, I don't like that. But for the most part, unless you're putting stuff behind it, it's not going to matter a whole lot. Just this part's really going to matter. Okay, all right, so I'm going to put this out to a new layer with a layer mask and hit OK. This piece is going to be in front of the top part, but it may not be in front of, probably won't be in front of anything else, right? Because the rest of it, oops, I'm not on my brush tool. The rest of it is going to be mostly in front of your person, right? So I'm just kind of touching this up a little bit, although it's not really going to totally matter because this layer here of me is going to become the new background. So I'm going to drag it all the way down to here. Okay. So now, see, it looks pretty decent. See, now we've kind of got something coming together. And that's what we want. So you really don't want your picture to be probably any bigger than mine because my head is pretty big compared to the original. Now, I've got to figure out the adjustments that I need because I have to do the same thing to each. So I'll just start with this one. I'm going to go to my adjustment layer and I'm going to do a levels because levels typically are pretty easy to work with. I'm just going to try auto and see where it puts all these. Okay, it didn't really make much of a difference on that one. So let's pull in the whites. Okay, see that's lightening up, but obviously that's going to lighten up a bit too much on my background. I'm going to pull in the darks. Honestly, I guess my picture just has a little bit too much here in the middle. Really, the whites and darks weren't too big of a problem. I'm just going to lighten this up a bit and darken these darks a bit. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. All right, so I'm going to go to layers. And now I've got this adjustment, okay? I'm going to clip this adjustment to me. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to clipping that. Now that means the background doesn't have that. And you know what? I don't really think my background needs it. But if yours does, you can just copy and paste this. And the easiest way is to hold down your Alt button and drag it. So I held down my Alt button and I drug that layer down. I got to clip it still. There we go. Okay. But see, I honestly think mine looks better with a darker background. For that matter, you could take your copied layer if you wanted to. Oh, here, there it is. See, that's way too bright. Just super, super bright. I definitely don't want it to be bright like that. But I could double click this one and adjust this one back down. So I could say, you know what, that needs to be darker. Let's go ahead and darken that out a bit. And lower those whites. This also lowers whites if you pull in. So if I want it to be a little darker in the background, I could even do that. Okay, I think that's pretty decent. I'm not unhappy with that. I still feel like my teeth look a little yellow. So I'm going to click back on this layer and add another adjustment layer. Maybe see if I can adjust the photo filter. So I don't want to warm it. That makes me oranger. I'm going to cool it. There. I don't know. That might be too much blue. There. See, I'm looking at my teeth. I'm trying to not, I don't want to turn the whole picture blue, right? But here it's like really orange. So I'm kind of coming up just a little bit to hit that. Okay, I think that's probably okay. All right. So now I've got two filters and they're both clipped in here. Now what you have to be careful about with this sort of stuff is like remembering that all of this has to go together. I would put this obviously in a layer group. I'm just going to say main Tanya because that's me. And then if later I need to go in and adjust any of that stuff, it's all together and I don't have to worry about it so much. Okay, and then at this point, I would just continue working on. And again, because my background is not as, see, theirs is lighter at the top than mine. And theirs is really light on this one. Lighter at the top than mine, it's going to give me some sort of, I've got some issues with this total teachers is maybe not as noticeable as it should be. And if you need to, you can make some modifications. Nothing major, but like I could do a tiny bit of a glow maybe around it. I don't know, that may not look better. Yeah, just a tiny bit of one. Can you see it? There's just, I don't want to go too crazy, but see there? And that shows up just a little bit better. I'll show you before and after. So there's before and there's after. See how those letters pop a little better? So, you could do a little bit of that if you need to help it pop a little bit. So again, I'm not going to judge this on extreme copycat, but I want it to look like we can tell it's definitely inspired from the original. Now that I'm looking at this, I'm kind of thinking, you know what? This pinky, dark pinky color red would look a lot better than this other red. So I am now going to have to replace that color. So here is where that filter is going to come in really handy because I can come in here and filter it for shapes because right now my shapes are the only thing that's using that red. And then I can much more easily grab each of these. So there's the seal. I'm just going to go to any shape tool so that I have the option up here. And then I probably need to just go and pick a color from this. There we go. All right. So that's good. I think that's a good color. See, that matches a whole lot better with what's going on with everything else. So now to be on my recently used. So now to be really easy, I can come to this rectangle and use my recently used, this rectangle, use my recently used, this rectangle, use my recently used. And now we have a color palette that actually comes from my main image. Of course, you might just think about that from the beginning before you even start, so you don't have to go changing all of that. But this is a good example of how the filter can come in really handy because then I could find all those shapes without having to dig through all those folders. All right, and that pretty much gets you started here. So good luck as you continue with your project.